You're listening to Puma Podcast.
Actually, it's very encouraging, no? We could say na the Marcos Jr. government has made encouraging strides. Mas marami na tayong magiging RE plants in the near future.
Look around you. What are the things that keep your life functioning and comfortable? Chances are they're powered by electricity. Lalo na ngayong mainit, sarap na sarap tayo sa aircon o kahit yung patikim ng malamig na hangin lang tuwing bubuksan natin ang ref. Hello! Ako si Trisha Aquino, Puma Podcast. You're listening to Teka Teka News. For 3 episodes now, we've been talking about where our energy comes from, the communities affected by its production, and what it takes for us to be able to have power in our homes. This is the last in that series. Alam na natin na may energy crisis and that we're competing against richer countries when it comes to access to imported natural gas, which is expected to become our major fuel source for power generation by 2040. May mga tumatawag sa liquefied natural gas na cleanest fossil fuel dahil mas mababa ang carbon emissions nito kung ikukumpara sa coal at oil. For many nations, including the Philippines, it's seen as a transition fuel to help meet promises in terms of reducing greenhouse gas emissions. Pero transition nga eh. Ibig sabihin, ang ultimate goal ay tumawid sa renewable energy o RE. Where are we on this? How's the government doing in this regard? And is there anything we can do as ordinary citizens? Well, stakeholders in RE are optimistic that renewable energy policies and targets will gain ground under the administration of President Bongbong Marcos. Here's Elisa Lopez, a reporter from the Philippine Center for Investigative Journalism. You heard her in a previous episode, and you know that she did research on the matter for half a year.
Recently, nagpasa siya ng executive order na saying basically na it will fast-track the process of offshore wind development here in the Philippines. So that means na instead of offshore wind developers going to different government offices to procure permits or get permits, parang mas ma-fast track siya na mas mabilis, mas seamless.
EO21 recognizes that offshore wind resources will play a major role in a, quote, low-carbon future, improved energy security, and reduced dependence on imported fossil fuels, end quote.
So that's good news kasi mas may encourage yung offshore wind developers na pumunta sa Pilipinas.
In March, the Department of Energy also issued the Notice of Auction to invite suppliers to participate in the second round of the Green Energy Auction.
So, itong Green Energy Auction Program is one of the mechanisms of the RE law. Parang siyang nagbibigay ng assured income for RE developers here in the Philippines para rin, again, makapag-encourage ng developers to build here.
Under the second round of the Green Energy Auction, the government is targeting 11,600 megawatts worth of RE by 2026. The first round of the Green Energy Auction, done last year, yielded about 2,000 megawatts worth of RE. So that's 11,600 megawatts versus 2,000 megawatts. The DOE is calling for ground-mounted solar, floating solar, roof-mounted solar, onshore wind, biomass, and waste-to-energy projects.
So that's a good thing kasi that means mas marami na tayong magiging RE plants in the near future. So actually very encouraging ang nakikita natin for this government.
The government's goal is to, quote, continuously trigger the increase of RE capacity in the country, which will help realize the government's target of 35% RE in the energy mix by 2030 and 50% by 2040, end quote. So we talked about how the government wants more RE projects so that by 2040, 50% of our power comes from renewable sources. Pero ano nga ba ang mga humahadlang dito? Eto si Elisa.
Some of the RE developers that we talked to said na kasi pag mag-a-apply ka or parang pag gusto mong mag-build ng power plant, one of the first steps that you have to take is to submit system impact study. Ito yung assessment ng NGCP na pag nilagay mo yung plant mo, hindi tayo mag-short circuit. Like, kaya siya nung load ng grid.
So imagine the power grid as a road system. Transmission lines are like expressways that carry electric energy for long distances across the country. Electricity then gets passed onto the distribution system, similar to roads and streets leading to homes and businesses. But before a new energy source can be added to this network, a developer must apply for a system impact study to find out how adding that facility will affect the grid. It's like trying to connect an on-ramp to an expressway. Yung nasabi ni Elisa na NGCP, yan yung National Grid Corporation of the Philippines. That's the company that won the 50-year franchise to operate, maintain, and expand the country's transmission network. And it has to conduct the system impact study to make sure that the highway can accommodate a new on-ramp without causing traffic pileup.
So, ano ibig sabihin nun? Siya yung responsible para makakonect or para mabenta ng energy producer ng isang power plant yung electricity na ginagawa niya, yung energy na ginagawa niya to the end users. So, kung wala sila, hindi rin natin magagamit yung energy na ginagawa.
Pero ang problema, ayon kay Elisa, ay malaki ang backlog ng NGCP pagdating sa pag-check ng mga proyekto ng mga RE developers.
We really never got to talk to NGCP, pero sa mga usapan namin with DOE, for example, or ERC,
that's the Energy Regulatory Commission,
is merong kulang sa manpower and yun yung nagiging sanhi ng backlog na yun. I talked to some RE developers, solar developers in particular, na they actually have the capacity to sell this 100 megawatts. For example lang to Pero like for 5-6 years, ang nabenta lang nila is 50 megawatts. So parang kalahati lang ng capacity nila. So for that time, na dapat nagbebenta sila ng 100 megawatts, hindi nila mabenta yung lahat dahil hindi kaya ng grid dun sa area nila. So that's a bad thing. That's an example of a thing na pwede nilang ma-improve na NGCP. Kasi if only they would upgrade the system, then mas marami yung chance na mas maraming mabibenta yung RE developers and mas marami yung chance na hindi tayo magkaka-red alert, yellow alert.
Ayon sa mga nakausap ni Elisa sa RE industry, malaki ang role ng NGCP sa pagpapabilis ng adoption ng RE sa bansa. But banks also have a role to play.
The banks, if alam nila na ganun kahirap yung system, yung regulatory environment as they say, madi-discourage din sila na magpa-loan sa mga ganitong companies kasi they know that it's not stable. As one of the experts I talked to nga, they're very risk-averse. So, as long as nakikita nila na hindi pa fully developed, medyo risky pa, hindi talaga sila mag-jump in doon.
Pero sabi ni Elisa, ang mga homeowners din mismo ay maaaring lumahok sa pag-adopt ng bansa ng RE. Under the Renewable Energy Act, we have the net metering scheme, where customers can power their homes through solar panels. And when these panels produce more electricity than needed, they may sell the excess power to distribution utilities. Pero as of October 2022, just over 7,000 of more than 20 million households in the country are benefiting from this. So one of the things that keep more families from accessing solar power is the cost. I talked to a senior citizen couple who had recently gotten solar installed in their home. They asked not to be named.
Naisip namin yung solar project na yan because I read in an article a couple of months ago na magtataas na naman ang kuryente and pataas lang naman ang pataas ang kuryente natin and matagal na namin kinoconsider yung solar panel project but heard that it was very expensive and so nag-research kami ng so many providers. Very prohibitive pa rin at this point ang presyo ng solar projects for residential, I wish the government could, if not subsidize, incentivize. Hindi naman kaya ng Meralco and other power producers yung energy needs natin, di ba? So tayo na nga ang gumagawa ng sarili nating effort to source our own energy. And yet, I checked the Renewable Energy Act, but the incentives are given mainly to the RE developers, manufacturers, fabricators, and suppliers. Kami ang mag-i-invest din kami for that. And it costs hundreds of thousands of pesos. Ang bili ni Meralco no excess power namin is only 50% of the cost or the value. Tinanong ko yung engineer, bakit ganun? Ba't 50% lang? So ang sagot niya is Meralco spends for capital expenditures also. I'm hoping na habang tumatagal, kasi ang dami-dami ng solar companies ngayon, medyo mahirap na mamili. No? Na sana bumaba yung price. At the same time, mas gumaganda yung quality ng mga panels and the inverters and all.
Based on their conversations with the solar power providers, as well as their research, after 3 to 5 years, pwede nang mabawi ang cost. It took 2 days to get the whole system installed and running. So tinanong ko, bakit po kayo nag-solar?
Good for the environment, para makatipid sa bayad sa Meralco. Lastly, syempre, yung tinatawag na net metering, kung ano yung excess na makukuha na energy from solar panels, pwede namin i-offset sa bayad sa Meralco.
And what's something that they're able to enjoy now that they weren't able to before?
Siyempre, number one, yung pwede ka mag-aircon tuwing malakas yung araw. So, siguro mga mula 10 a.m. hanggang 2 p.m. libre yung aircon namin. Siyempre, comfortable kami doon. Kaya na-invite namin yung aming apo na maglaro sa bahay dahil sa libreng kuryente. Yeah.
The couple also shared how they're thinking about the future. Ngayong senior na sila at retirees pa, they can cross off electric bills from the things they'll have to worry about for at least the next 20 years. Instead, they can allocate their money to food, housing, and medical expenses. And speaking of the future, is it a bright one for the Philippines? What does Elisa's research tell her?
Lahat naman ng stakeholders want more RE. And we all agree na it's not just for the environment, it's for the economy. It's the cheaper option. It's the better option. And that in itself says na the future looks bright for the Philippines in terms of our adoption. Ang tanong na lang is, how soon can we get there? Makakaapekto sa bulsa nating lahat yung presyo ng kuryente. Bababa if more of us would use RE. So, I think the more that we're aware, the more people will clamor for RE, and that's a good thing for its development.
And that was today's episode of Teka Teka News. This is the last of a series on energy transition, the communities affected by it, and what it takes for us to be able to have power in our homes. You can listen to the other episodes in this series. Hanapin lang ang Nauubos na mga mangingisda ng Ilihan, Batangas City, that's part 1. Namemeligro ang Amazon of the Oceans na nasa Pinas, that's part 2. And Saan Galing ang Kuryente Natin, that's part 3. Again, I'm Trisha Aquino, Puma Podcast. This episode was produced by myself and co-written with Cherry Salazar and Elisa Lopez of the Philippine Center for Investigative Journalism. Kung bitin kayo sa kwento, check out the articles, infographics, and pictures of the communities and the fishermen who live here on their website. That's pcij.org. This episode was edited by Joe Salcedo. Follow Teka Teka News wherever you listen to podcasts, including YouTube. Thanks for listening.